What's up, viewers? My two viewers here. How you doing? Thank you for tuning in. I'm saying hello for, I think, the third or fourth time here. So, you might be wondering, where's the intro? You might be wondering, where's the intro? We did that. We did that already. We did that twice already. We did the intro twice already. We did the, I'm doing my best Dr. Umar impression. You know, where he repeats himself? We already did the intro. We already did the intro. We already did the intro. Snow bunnies are taking down my stream. Snow bunnies are trying to take down my stream. That's my best Dr. Umar impression. Thank you for rolling into the chat here. I see y'all coming in. Foundational black Americans. Foundational black Americans should not be marrying snow bunnies. Okay, we wish Dr. Umar well. We wish Dr. Umar well. How you doing, folks? Thank you for rolling in. Yeah, I already said hello. I already did the intro here. Something's messy. It might be Caster. I had similar issues on Friday. But I think we're rocking and rolling. I was talking to the ether, talking to the void. To nobody. What happened? I don't know. Delighted to be here. I have no clue. How you doing? Everything is fake. Thank you. Appreciate the patience. No clue what happened. Did the intro twice. Said hello to the people. Explaining what happened to those coming in. My YouTube say no data again. I'm going to keep going. I'm just going to pray. I'm going to let the people out there in the back let me know. They'll come back in and let me know. If I'm not streaming, it says no data, but I'm going to keep it going. Excellent connection all of a sudden. Folks, I was saying hello to you. I was talking to you, in fact, for like 8 minutes, I think, about a bunch of nothing. A bunch of stuff that's on the Anchor Baby's mind. Basically, I was telling you how I should have maybe I should have been spending my time here putting together the hard-hitting news and the show for the people, but the Anchor Baby's just been reading about war. Because it's so interesting. War's so interesting. I just got Europe. I just got the last 100 years of Western European monarchies. Of the Europe. Maybe not the monarchies. I just got 100 years of European history on the mind right now. Sorry, the news can wait. I got some news for you. Don't worry. Okay, and your calls, 888-775-3773. They say there's a tectonic shift in power, okay? And I'm reading about such tectonic shifts in the last 100 years. You know, 100 years ago, England was the big guy on the streets. I was telling the Void this 8 minutes ago or whatever. I was telling the Void about this. England, 100 years ago. Big dog on the streets. The ocean was hers. Nick, you always got to keep an eye on your chat. Yeah, but sometimes it's distracting. So I start off the shows lately just me and you, me and the Void, I guess. You and I. And then I look at the chat, and then I come to find I wasn't even live. Or I was, but something was going on. But look, war. It's so interesting, especially the people. The people in charge, the statesmen in charge during these wars. You think about, I was telling the Void a while ago, that when I think about these wars and you hear about them, you think, well, there must have been a grand conclusion, a grand reason, something that if you were to tell me, I would say, well, of course. But they had to go to war. But I learned, I'm reading about this and I find it interesting. And it's not, there's security and maybe good reasons, but there's also a lot of nothing, ego, slights. I can't believe you said that about me. Let's have a grand old world war. You might not think it's like that, but it kind of is. Human nature is what makes war so interesting. 100 years, England, right? I'm telling you about England. Splendid isolation is what they called it. Basically, she was alone in the world, but she was fine. She had the oceans, she had power, she had many things, but that started to change. Big changes in power. Who had it? Germany started on its come up. You know, the French and the Prussians at the time, they were friends, but things didn't go so well. And out of Prussia, we know, out of the Teutonic nations came Germany, as we know. Anyways, basically, an American challenge over British Guyana, the loss of their position in China, the Germans siding with the Boers against England. It was a spicy time, okay? So they started to make friends, started appeasing the Americans. They brought their fleet of European ships out of the Atlantic. It was big shifts in power, okay? Philippines, Cuba, Puerto Rico, owned by America, and using their power and influence there, started pushing out all English trade to bolster their own. It was a new world, okay? A shift in powers. Not unlike what's going on today. War is it's just an interesting thing to me a little bit. At the time, there was a man named Joe Chamberlain. Joe Chamberlain was a statesman. He was given permission by another statesman, Lord Salisbury, to court Germany and become friends. Okay, we need friends, we need alliances. We're starting to see all these other alliances form up. It's making us nervous. That's the English, right? And they went to the Germans, and the Germans were like, you want to be our friends? It's going to cost you, I don't know. We're looking pretty good ourselves over here. I don't know why we need your help. Can you make it? Can you sweeten the deal for us? Joe Chamberlain would say to the Germans, spurn us and we go elsewhere. And they did. They went to the French. And to understand this a little bit, why this was so shocking 100 years ago, was because the French and the English hated each other. They had a history. Okay, had a bloody history. Okay, the French had a saying, perfide Albion, perfidious Albion. Albion is like an old name for Britain or whatever, and they're perfidious and they're just conniving, and we don't like them. We even have a saying. So it was a shock to the world when the English and the French came together with an entente cordiale, a cordial understanding. The Germans were like, okay, maybe we should have made friends. Anyways, shock to the world. There was this crisis that happened. They call it the Tangiers crisis. It had to do with all these lands that the different colonial powers had elsewhere in the world. And the Kaiser at the time, a young Kaiser, made a public statement about Tangiers, a place the English had control over. And he supported independence, revolution, so to speak. He supported the independence of them, which seems like such a nice thing, right? Reading it back now with the vantage point of 100 years later, with the schooling that we received growing up of rules-based international order where you can't be big old meanies to each other. You grew up in a time where fighting for the independence of people, that's a good thing. But this was a crisis, and it almost came to war. You dare challenge our preeminence, our whatever we have in the world, our stuff, and the Kaiser's challenge solidified this alliance, right, between the French and the English. Okay, so those really are the bad guys. So we really do have to become allies, even better than, tougher than ever. In fact, we now have to start talking about military stuff. What if they attack us? What if the Germans attack us? Well, let's start talking about it. Let's start building up plans. And you know what? Let's not tell anybody either. They started having secret talks, put together these military plans, and the alliances became even stronger, right? In a sense. Andreas Hillgruber, a historian, German historian, writes about the radical hate of Germany at the time. Andreas Hillgruber, he says to understand this radical kind of like this radical kind of a distaste and hate of Germany that broke out in the Entente allied countries was due to Germany's not their what he called their crude, I forget what he called it, but their vibe, okay? Just their whole vibe on the international stage. It was just too crude and like, we're the tough guys, we're the boss. So it rubs people the wrong way, okay? Kind of makes me think about America a little bit. You know, I say, and I'm almost done with this, I say these things to kind of get you thinking a little bit, because it made me think differently. It made me kind of open up my mind a little bit in terms of the things that we hear and learn about. They're talking about war now. They're talking about what they want to do now. And I'm not saying, I don't want you to hear what I'm saying as a direct parallel on what we should do today, but just to kind of think about things differently. And I come to the part that interests me so much, the Kaiser's slight, Kaiser Wilhelm II. He was the Kaiser of Germany, the leader, the emperor of Germany, okay? A Germany that had been unified after Prussia and all that, okay? So it was a big change. Big dogs on the street, big economy. They became the world power in Europe. And and the Kaiser at the time actually had English ancestry. So he had like a place in his heart for the English. He even did like grand gestures toward the English, where he like went to the funeral of the Queen and was at her bedside. Like it was deep for him. King Edward VII of the United Kingdom was his uncle. And they had such an interesting relationship, slights, where the young Kaiser kept trying to show his love for England, but be respected as the emperor of Germany, as the leader of this nation and all that, but never really got it. And that really bothered him. He wrote about it. It really, really bothered him. He took it really personally. That his uncle, imagine this, right? You're thinking, well, these are grand nations and these world wars happened. And it can't be just uncles and family disputes. But I'm telling you that this relationship between this uncle and nephew was such a big part, big factor in war. Like, we're talking world war. That's why this is so interesting to me, human nature and all that. But anyways, Andreas Hillgruber, I think we're done with that. It's a new world. You know, they talk about tectonic shifts today, Russia and China. Chinese President Xi Jinping, this is from antiwar.com, Chinese President Xi Jinping's extremely warm reception of President Vladimir Putin yesterday in Beijing sealed the increasingly formidable Russian-China strategic relationship. It amounts to a tectonic shift in the world balance of power. The Russia-China Entente also sounds the death knell for attempts by U.S. foreign policy neophytes to drive a wedge between the two countries. Political speak, that for U.S. doesn't like Russia and China being friends. The triangular relationship has become 2 against 1 with serious implications, particularly for the war in Ukraine. If U.S. President Joe Biden's foreign policy geniuses remain in denial, escalation is almost certain. You see the segue now? You see it now? Or did the anchor maybe just read an article and he read the word entente and couldn't stop himself? I just had to tell you about it. I don't know why, but in my browser, your stream is freezing intermittently. Skips sections of the video. Jesse, Hake, and Joel's streams do not behave this way. That's amazing. Are you am I speaking to the ether? Are people following me? If the office, if people back there can let me know. Because I got people in my chat telling me that my stream is freezing, skipping sections of video. Nit, we can hear you. I'm just going to keep going. Talking about ententes, the ententes of yesterday and the ententes of today. That's French for understanding, okay? Alliances. Talking about ententes. It's not that deep to me. It's kind of sports a little bit, but it's kind of sports with a little bit, like, maybe a lot more implications. What's the word I'm looking for? Significance, okay? Because it's like war, right? World War and all that. But it's like not that deep at the same time, because what can you do? What are we supposed to do? Now, on that, what are we supposed to do? Is why I guess I find this interesting, because they are talking about war today in American Congress, trying to influence the public perception and emotions of American voters for these very ends, okay? And these very same emotional American voters have no clue about what's going on and the tectonic shifts that are at play that would love for the American public to want war. Is what I'm seeing here, okay? And there's sort of alliances happening today with these tectonic shifts. Russia and China, as I just mentioned. The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, is it India? Really? India's in there? Dang, right on, India. China. They want to set up their own money. They have military talks. If you look it up, they say it's not like NATO, though. But I don't know. And now they got this president of Iran dead. And the president of Iran, I'm to understand this, that in Iran they have like a supreme leader and then a president under them. So it's not unlike the Europe, British royalty, the monarchy, the queen and the king, right? They have their thing, but they delineate powers to their prime minister, which is like a president. So the Iranian president, Ibrahim Raisi, okay, we're in America, hardline ally of Khamenei, killed in a helicopter crash. It's got the news lit up a little bit right now. Hard to say exactly what. I'm not saying anything about it other than the news from Reuters here that this Iranian president was killed. But when you put it in the turbulent times we're in, you see this, you start seeing maybe the significance when it comes to our own Congress and all that. So what can you do? There's really nothing you could do. But imagine on its most basic level being a voter and just having a different mentality of things, a more informed mentality. It might help in that area. But even deeper, just what else can you do besides that, right? Work on yourself. Because the weakness in the men that I'm seeing that are the leaders of, what I'm trying to say here is that even these very distinguished, even the Kaiser Wilhelm II were subject to the ills of the mind. Okay, what I'm getting at is human nature and how the ego plays in our mind, and how even people, even men of stature, of these are just competent men. These are men who, even if you disagreed with, nobody would disagree were great men in a sense. And even them, they had to deal with slights and ego stuff. Okay? So you realize the answer is only work on yourself. Duh. Okay. What else here? War. So interesting. Look, I want to show you the women. I want to show you some people in Iran. How are they reacting to this death of this president? Now, I'm getting this from the Daily Mail. There may be levels of propaganda here. But here's from the Daily Mail. Iranians celebrate the death of President Raisi with fireworks while victims of his torturous regime and their loved ones dance and drink a toast to his fatal helicopter crash. I don't know how many are, celebrating this. I imagine at least some. We definitely have some video here from Daily Mail. We can at least conclude at least some, right? Obviously. But there's this video Daily Mail shares. Let me see. They're a little janky website. It's hard to use their website here. But I want to show you some of these celebrating people. They're celebrating over the death of this president. Now, how do I do this? Where do I have to click? Oh, yeah. Unmute this.
We can fight back.
No, I don't want your ad. I don't care about your ad. Check it out. So here are the fireworks. Okay, wait. Fireworks are going off. They're celebrating this president's death, apparently. Why? Fireworks. Okay, that could just be, those could be fireworks in mourning, right, Daily Mail? You don't know. Those could be fireworks out of respect because they're mourning him, maybe? How do you know?
این مردن رئیس جمهور فقید کشورمون رو تبریک میگم به کل مردم ایران. امیدوارم که باقیه‌شون هم
Okay, hold up. Now look at these women. Apparently they have the women are free now. The president is dead. The president of Iran is dead, and now the women are free in this following clip here. Oh. Hijab? I think that's illegal in Iran, what they're wearing. I think that makeup is also illegal. I could be wrong. Oh! I was told those are terroristic sounds. Maybe they're just Iranian sounds. I don't know. I could be ignorant. But they may be committing a crime. I think these two ladies also inspired other ladies, other Iranian women. In a moment here, you'll see. They seem quite happy. Oh! Now, I believe that is illegal. Alcohol. Women drinking and not covering up in Iran? The president is dead? Pandemonium? So what you're telling me is when daddy's gone, when daddy's not home, all hell breaks loose is what you're telling me. Is that what you're telling me? We're having fun. I'm joking around with this news here. I don't know how many people are celebrating this. It's funny to see the ladies be liberated. Why is it that when women are liberated, they have to do evil? They have to commit evil to show this freedom to the world. Look at how free I am. Look at me destroy my body and destroy, look like a slut, do all these things because I'm free. Why is that women's liberation is always like that? But anyway, Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, has declared the nation will observe 5 days of mourning following the death of President Ibrahim Raisi in a devastating helicopter crash. Plenty of Iranians are celebrating the unexpected death. The daughters of Minu Majidi, a 62-year-old Iranian woman who was one of hundreds of people shot dead by security services during the nationwide fallout following the death of Mahsa Amini in September 2022. You might remember some of this, but they basically had, the ladies, the women, rising up, okay? You can't treat the women like this kind of stuff. Became a global controversy. Supported by members in the U.S. government. But anyways, what was I? That's who some of the women you saw in the video were. Daughters of this Manu Majidi. Showing that you need a strong father. Because they go crazy. No, I'm honestly messing around a little bit about the women in Iran and this president. And you need him back. You need him back to put you back in the hijab. More off the top here, reacting to this. I've always thought of the Muslims and their handling of women as evidence and proof that it is something that needs to be done. But in my opinion, in my estimation, you know, when you put the way Islam deals with women and the way maybe Christianity is dealing with women today in America, you see this juxtaposition. You think, well, clearly this is an issue. It has to be dealt with, women. Or whatever. At least the big three religions thought that. And they came up with different ways. And I've come up with my own... in my estimation, the Muslims overreacted. And as you can see, it doesn't... they haven't necessarily dealt with the problem, in a sense. Or dealt with women. No, not calling them a problem. They can be. I'm just saying... it's clear that has to be done, but the way the Muslims did it, in my estimation, was an overreaction. And it's clear that it didn't work. It may have worked for certain things, but that there may be, that your women, even hijabbed up, can be goaded into, I'm using some loaded language here, because those women in Iran were thinking for themselves, right? Could be influenced, so to speak, to revolt and rise up against the men. Maybe the hijabs, maybe it's all a Band-Aid. You know what I mean? Anyways. To the Christian men, you don't have to go Muslim to deal with the women. You know, Christians used to deal with them with love. Okay, what else about this? Iran, funny stuff. 888-775-3773. You can call me. But yes. What else here? Iran, I feel like there's something else I want to say about this. That's it, I think. War. 888-775-3773. Yeah, amazing. They're talking about the 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒎 speech here. I was thinking about going through it a little bit, considering it's looking like I got a whole bunch of time here with you. I might just do that and go through the speech a little bit, since he's talking about dealing with women maybe a little bit, in a sense, or at least the roles of men and women. I'm talking about that football player who he's a Catholic guy, right? He did some speech, it's got people going off. They're saying he hates women. They're saying all sorts of things. But I didn't even think it was that tough. I was going to talk about it too. I know Hake talked about it. I was going to say something similar about one part of the speech. You know, this guy was saying how much he loved his wife, which is great, right? That's a good thing. I'm thinking we go through it a little bit. Let's see here. Let me pull it up. But basically, the 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒎 commencement speech. Ooh. Harrison 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒎, I think is how you say it. And he's a football player. He did a commencement speech at Benedictine College. Okay. In a polarizing speech delivered before the Catholic Liberal Arts College graduating class in Atchison, Kansas. During the 20-minute speech, 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒍𝒔 said he intended to say the difficult stuff out loud. Dang, 20 minutes? We can't go through 20 minutes. Never mind. But I know a lot of people say it was tough, and I liked it too, and I liked that everyone's reaction was so negative, pointing out how weak even Christians are. What did he say? He's saying women should stay home and they should love their role as homemaker. I don't know. He said it in a funny way. Homemaker. 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒍𝒔 said, really, what was so controversial? In one particularly scrutinized segment, 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒍𝒔 addressed the women. He shared that his wife's life really started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother. Isabel's dream of having a career might not have come true, but if you asked her today if she has any regrets on her decision, she would laugh out loud and say, heck no. Right on. Nice Catholic wife who would say, heck no. He urged the men in the graduating class to be unapologetic in your masculinity, fighting against the cultural emasculation of men. Part of the cultural emasculation of men is of course, the making them feminine, weak, into their emotions, to not even be able to say, to think just the very notion of delineating what a man may be, that by itself is just too far. What do you mean? We're all equal. What are you trying to say? So yeah, that's to make masculinity equal to femininity, or so to speak. That's part of that emasculation. But another side of that, another part of this emasculation of men is making them all angry. Making them all angry, thinking that anger is tough. This emasculation of men is also Satan plays both sides. Satan plays both sides. And this emasculation of men is happening with the tough side too. You know, think country music, think sports, think, you know what I mean? That's so feminine. Have you seen that? Or do I need to think about this more and bring you the words? How really feminine this world is of sports and tough guys and I'm a Marine dad. I'm and you can't, I'm going to protect my daughters, my little daughters. I know I'm just making stuff up, but I'm trying to give out a vibe here. The emasculation of men is deep in there too. Anyways, Harrison Butker here, talking about Catholic pride. But what did he say? He did say something funny about his wife. How he got all emotional about his wife. There's an emasculation happening with the Christians, okay? And this emasculation is emotion. Emotion. It's pure emotion. But we call it good, right? We call it positive good emotions, or we even call it divine. So we don't see it as not quite manly. Anyways, whatever. Emasculation of men. Let's see here.
These
but on Butker, I think that's it on Butker. There was something else here with him. There's all sorts of people online who are having a field day talking about it.
fucking big. Biggest takeaway?
The ladies are not happy.
Common. First and foremost, until a few months ago, we were both employed by the Kansas City Chiefs. I cheered you on for 6 years straight.
She's a cheerleader. She's a cheerleader for the Kansas City Chiefs, okay? She's not happy.
Common. First and foremost, until a few months ago, we were both employed by the Kansas City Chiefs. I cheered you on for 6 years straight. And with that, I would assume we went to the same PR training. But since all of that obviously left your fucking brain when you went to go give...
Apologies, folks. The sun is still up. And she has a potty mouth. I just need a little video to keep y'all entertained while I switch something over here. But we do not need her anymore. Thank you. 888-775-3773. What a mess. Sailor mouth. Anyways, here. War. Everyone's fighting. Trump trial. You know, they're really going after him, okay? And now you maybe have been ignoring this Trump trial. Stormy Daniels, Michael Cohen is a bigger name that's coming out now in the headlines today over what he's saying. Oh, big bombshell stuff. They're really going to get Trump now. But yes, if you don't know, he's former attorney, served as a lawyer for Trump, okay? For over a decade. Deeply involved with some of his stuff. And so he's a major witness and all that. In the Trump trial, centering around this hush money payment to this Stormy Daniels, okay? Now, if you don't know, just to make it clear, wading through some of the mess, the crime here essentially is not the hush money, okay? The core issue of the trial is not this money payment itself, but this falsification of business records, concealing the nature of that payment, okay? The argument here is that Trump made these false entries, which is against the law, right? To hide these business records, etc. Some even say, now this isn't part of the case, but the media, the news cycles, the ideas they're putting forth to lend credibility is, well, this is election interference even. Isn't that funny how both sides kind of say the same things? It can be confusing if all you cared about was maybe words. But the both sides say the same thing, and they say, well, it's kind of like interfering with an election, right? Because you're trying to hide that this Stormy Daniels thing happened, and it's during an election, and it would be damaging if it came out and all that. But like Trump said today in a Truth Social post, it's selective prosecution. Selective prosecution to stop a political opponent. Okay? Trump faces 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. These charges allege that the payments were improperly recorded to cover up the hush money transaction, thus violating the state law. This falsification of records is considered a more serious offense due to the alleged intent. So, and this Cohen guy is supposed to be revealing like some deep stuff, but the guy himself is compromised, like so many people going after Trump. And by compromise, I mean they want to go after Trump, the man, by any means necessary. Okay? And you notice all these different players, Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, all these different players are associated with other people in the government, all that, who all have a vendetta against Trump. And you got to understand the vendetta that the government has against Trump is about power, is about this false power. And it's Trump's challenge to this power. Just like Germany and Europe and those turbulent times create a conflict, so does Trump and his challenge of American power here. Okay, you understand? Who's holding it in Congress is what I mean. So and I'm talking about these players who have compromised their credibility. History of false testimony with Cohen, admitting to lying under oath in the past. During his cross-examination, the defense highlighted instances where Cohen previously lied, including to Congress and other authorities. History of dishonesty. That's from 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒎. So he can't be trusted. You know, Cohen acknowledging those lies, in fact, in this very recently. That's what's significant about Cohen's name lately, is his admitting to these lies in some of these cross-examinations in this Stormy Daniels case. This is May 14th. Trump hush money. This is from 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒏. And public statements. Cohen's numerous public statements against Trump and his role in the media could be interpreted as attempts to influence public opinion and the trial's outcome. This media presence and his expressed motivations can be seen as an indicative of a personal bias, according to Politico. Anyways, you know, he's also got his own legal troubles. So the credibility of Cohen and all that, Trump trial, I mean, I know some of the details. I find it tedious to get into the nitty gritty when it really is a selective prosecution of a political opponent. Look at Biden. Biden, his documents case, just ignoring that one, right? We're just going to move on from the documents in Biden, right? Okay. Let's see here. You know what's crazy, Nick? They will never leave Donald Trump alone. Yes. They can't. That would be... That would, you know, they would be giving up their position of power. Entrenched interests in American politics. Argentinian president is boosting his country's economy. Right on, anointed drifter. How do you say? In what ways? That's interesting. So, now that we're an hour in, how's the stream been? Doom Jesus, are you still there? Am I still intermittent? Am I still coming in clear, or has it been intermittent throughout the stream? All right. (888) 775-3773 if you want to call in. Thank you, Mr. Pink, for the super chats. Back to back here. I think this was from Friday. When had similar issues, internet stuff, not sure. He says, for nits, lil internet bill. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Carver. And with a super chat from today, he says, Harrison James Hake Butker. Now, why do you say that? Right on. Thank you. Okay. Amazing. What shall we do next here? Trump trials. War. Trump. And the Hawaiian problem. Do we need to talk about the Hawaiian problem? What do you know about the Hawaiian problem? U.S. murder rate by race. This is posted by the Data Boys. And their sources are CDC Wonder, underlying cause of death, apparently. That's their source. The Data Boys have put together the data. And they put together a little graph here. U.S. murder rate by race. And you know what? I'm just shocked. I'm honestly shocked about something here. And I'm a little surprised no one's talking about it. As you can see here, there's this. As you can see, you got Asian, white, native. Okay, natives pretty high, 6, 7. It's higher than the other two, way off. And it's definitely higher, but it seems to be going down here as the years go on. Let me see. I want to see the scale here. What year are we at? Let me duplicate this. We're getting to the 2000s. We're arriving at the 2000s, and native murder rates are out of control. Okay, we get to 2010s, okay? And something happens here. And wait, hold on. I want to make sure something happens here. Yeah, we get to the 2010s and something happens here. What's going on in America? Someone want to explain this to me? Because nobody's talking about it. Here in a moment, you'll see a new line pop up. A massive increase in murder rate. Hawaiian. Out of nowhere. Hawaiian. You see this? Are you seeing this right now? Hawaiian murder rates, 6.6 out of nowhere. Can someone explain that to me? We need to talk about the Hawaiians. This is per 100,000. Yes. This is U.S. murder rate by race. Rate per 100,000. It's in the spam. You think it's in the spam? Oh, because what's that guy's name? Israel? IZ. Some Israel 𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒎. 𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒎. When did he die? You guys know who I'm talking about, right? The big Hawaiian singer who sang Over the Rainbow. He died in 1997, Hake. Sorry. I don't know if your little theory of Iz's death in 1997, who died at the tender age of 38, I don't know if that will explain the Hawaiian problem that has just snuck up on us here. Incredible stuff. I got a caller though. Art out of Ohio. Thank you for your call. You're on the air.
Hey, Clay, how you doing, Nick?
How you doing, sir?
I'm all right. So first thing, how you feel about how you feel about the Constitution? Do you think that it should be followed to the T, how it was written out by the founding fathers?
Do I think the Constitution should be followed to the T? Yeah. Right?
Okay.
I'll say it should be followed. I'm getting all sensitive with the word to the T. But I don't know why. I think because I'm getting the impression that means something else, like the words, and that leaves no space for interpretation.
It ain't no space for no interpretation because it's only one way to interpret it. You see what I'm saying? It ain't no different than the Bible. Just like the liberals would say with the Bible or whatnot, the Bible says thou shalt not kill or whatnot, but they try to switch and turn it to, something in your stomach doesn't mean that it's an actual human. You see what I'm saying? There ain't no, the words is clear as day, and you can't twist that around.
But sometimes they're not clear as day. And I can't think of an example. Let me think of an example. Sometimes it's not clear as day. Yeah, can you think of an example? Like, you're telling me it's always clear, the law?
Yeah. I mean, they didn't make it, especially, if you don't look over the Constitution or whatnot, it's clear as day what it said. It ain't no, hidden words or no twists or no turns with the words or whatnot. I'm just surprised. And this is crazy because I haven't looked at the Constitution.
Is there
flat out probably in like the last year and a half, and even I know that.
Is there a part of the Constitution you're thinking of right now that's on your mind that's totally clear for you, or just in general? Is there something you're getting at? Speak freely.
The freedom of speech, First Amendment, or what it is as far as when it says that about the news or whatnot, as far as freedom of press. That is as clear as day what the Constitution means. You see what I'm saying?
I think I see what you're saying. I got to bring up, though, how even with the First Amendment, for example, it came to be that there was something unclear about it, and America had to make it clear through, I guess, interpretation or the Supreme Court. What I'm getting at specifically here with the First Amendment is, well, what comes to mind, for example, is like libel laws and stuff like that. You see what I'm saying here? Like, that's not protected. Libel is not protected speech, for example, and that was a conversation at one point.
Explain. I'm a little confused on it. Explain that.
I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe that although we have the First Amendment, that doesn't mean you're allowed to go publishing lies about people, for example.
Well, that's true in well, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, even with freedom of speech or whatnot, you can say what you want to say or whatnot. But even think about this: they was calling Trump a racist or whatnot, but couldn't nobody. They had Trump on camera saying racist stuff or whatnot for 3-4 years when he was in office or whatnot. But all these people who were saying that, you see what I'm saying? They had no proof. So even when I'm looking at what you saying about what you was just saying about what you just say
about the interpretation, about the the interpretation of the First Amendment that came after regarding libel laws and how libel is not protected speech.
And what was libel again?
And libel, the definition is a defamation expressed in a fixed medium, typically writing, but also pictures. Defamation. There seems to be different kinds, but you're just
ain't no different than the person writing it, because it's only one is written and one is verbal.
And sorry, say that again. Sorry, I was distracted.
Verbal and written ain't don't change what the meaning of it is. Is one is verbal and one is written.
You might be correct about what you're saying, but in this case, the law likes to make these kinds of distinctions, and the lawyers and law people, they've always done it like this because somewhere along the way it came up and it was a problem, so they had to make the distinction or something like that. So libel is like written defamatory stuff, and even or more specifically, defamatory stuff in a fixed medium. So let's say I recorded a video of myself lying about you, and you could prove that it was pure defamation. I think in some cases you can take me to court, and I would not be protected by the First Amendment. And so so that's in a sense. Would you see that as an interpretation of Constitution, or am I seeing that incorrectly? What do you think?
I mean, you said that came after the Constitution was written, right?
Let me make sure for
correct, you. Or you said that was an interpretation from a Supreme Court judge after the Constitution was written.
So libel laws existed before the Constitution, apparently.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I guess that would be an interpretation, but
okay. So
just like
to lend some clarity here for you, Art, and for myself and the viewers here, on what you just asked about libel laws and its place in history before or after the Constitution, a little context here. Basically, libel laws existed before the Constitution. They have roots in English common law. Colonial America adopted English common law, and in English common law, there's such a thing as libel and all that stuff. And then the Constitution came around, and all that kind of got remixed, some of it kept, etc.
Yeah.
But, let's say, but even further on, the amendments were made to the Constitution. Those amendments were, would you call those an interpretation?
You said, what did I call them, interpretation?
Like there were amendments to the Constitution after the Constitution came up, right?
Yeah.
And these amendments, we're talking about one of them, the First Amendment. I mean, these amendments, I mean, those weren't those, like think about the word amendment itself. Isn't that an interpretation of what was written before in the Constitution to change it and to better fit what was happening today, etc.?
Well, I don't know if it was go to say better fit what was happening today. It was more than likely would be probably it could have been just like you said, an interpretation. It could have been probably a case that went to the Supreme Court to where you had them to interpretate with the meaning of that amendment or with the
Sorry, you were saying?
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying that could have just been as far as that somebody brought a case to the Supreme Court to interpret with the meaning of that was or get understanding of the Constitution or the amendment.
Would you say that's? Would you say? What do you? Yeah, and do you have a problem with that process of amending and maybe interpreting the Constitution and all that?
Do I have a? You said
Because you were talking
well,
about it, following it to a T, right? I want to understand. I want to understand if you had a point about that and if you wanted to make it.
Well, okay. Well, even this with the first, the 14 Amendments or whatnot, those were and even down to with the first, second, and the third and the Fourth Amendment or whatnot. Those were put in place to make sure that America never failed or never went back through what they went through when they was trying to conquer America, or even what they fled from the British or UK, wherever the colonizers come from. All those was put in so the colonizers, as you would say, the Europeans that came from over there overseas, they was in America, so they wouldn't be in another position of being in a taxation without representation. Where that's why they fled to America, is because they weren't feeling like that the British, the kingdom, or whatever it was representing them, and they were taking and robbing them for their money. And they feel when they wrote the Constitution is the only way to do that is to put the first, second, and third, and the fourth, and the Fifth Amendment in there. So you went in turn be running from a place and then go to America, and then turn America into the place that you ran from.
Mm-hmm.
So it ain't and with them, I don't get it wrong. Some of them can maybe be adjusted, but not the key amendments, because those were set there.
I see.
For a reason. And the players of the game might change, but the game doesn't never change. So the same thing that might have been going on back there when they writ the amendment in the Constitution, just because it happened in 1700 or 1600, don't mean that it ain't gonna happen or going on right now. It's just like I said, the players change, but the game is still the same. They haven't forgotten about the game plan. Or go ahead, I'm listening.
No, thank you, Art. I too share your same apprehension and kind of conservative stance on traditions like the Constitution and even the amendments. I mean, those are pretty hard to change. But that being said, as hard as it is to change in the process of the Constitution, it's kind of changing before our very eyes, despite the Constitution, despite these processes that are supposedly there to protect all that. You understand? So these amendments and these ideals of this country are changing despite all that. So although I share your same apprehension and kind of conservative attitude to that, I really don't want these things to change. I share a similar kind of, shall I say, almost maybe dogmatic kind of thing where it's like you can't change it because you'll ruin it kind of thing. But and I'm really not trying to take away from that, because again, I do share it. But I also share some of the same kind of errors you've made in thinking that I don't do anymore. What I'm trying to say simply is that you're thinking of the Constitution and your conclusion, your kind of simplified conclusion, which I think is lending some issues here. Your simplified conclusion that, well, it was made to stop the tyranny of the monarchies, and that's how America is. And that's why every single thing in the Constitution is in there for that reason. That's too simplified of a conclusion. It's too simplified of a conclusion, and it lends to this kind of notion that, well, I don't know, if we don't follow it to a T in a dogmatic way, we're gonna just bring in communism or bring in whatever thing we were trying to get away from in the beginning of America. But that's not the problem with the Constitution. It's not following it to a T in the word. The problem with America, the problem with the Constitution, and even go deeper, man, with Christians and the Bible, is that very problem, is following the word, the T, blah, 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 instead of truly understanding. See, no one really understands the Constitution.
Well, see, the Bible ain't, you don't get paid to learn the Bible. That's something that you take and might do on your own. A politician, or let's say a police officer, you get paid to do this. You see what I'm saying? So that's the difference. You get paid to make sure that you, and even American citizens has some play in that. Because even if you're not getting paid, you don't need to be getting paid to know when you have to and need to stand up for your rights as an American citizen.
Could you repeat that last part?
Even some of the burden follows onto the American, because you don't need to be getting, the individual.
Yeah.
because you don't need to get paid for you to have to speak up and know when your rights are being violated.
Like to know your own, to know that kind of stuff.
But I expect it to be different for a person that is a police officer or a politician or a judge, because you getting paid by the American citizens to know or to make sure that is enforced.
Totally, Art. I mean, I can agree. I think I could agree on that in a general sense. Is there something on your mind, like some rights being infringed, or something on your mind about the Constitution that's happening today that's got you thinking about this?
Yeah, well, because I heard you say something about that they picking and choosing who they want to persecute.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Or whatnot with Trump or whatnot. And I mean, I just find it awfully kind of funny and hard to believe that, and this ain't directed towards you, but maybe some of the people that you want to show with, that they are picking and choosing and doing the same thing that the liberals are doing. You see what I'm saying?
I'm sort of seeing what you're saying, and I think you're alluding to a conversation you had with Hake. I don't want to assume.
Mm-hmm.
It was great conversation, but I did miss quite a bit of it, I think, the second time. So I'm not entirely clear on what you're saying, and it might be confusing to the host here and the viewers. So, I say, Art, make a clear point. We could talk about it, and then we can move on.
Okay.
But
I just go to say that even with the Fifth Amendment or the whatever amendment that is for the Second Amendment, as far as with the guns or whatnot, that he doesn't feel and think that basically let's just point blank period. Yeah. He thinks that the Constitution doesn't exist.
Oh yeah, I heard Hake say that.
Yeah,
or that it's, I forget what the exact words, but I'm following. I'll accept.
Yeah. He tried to retract and come back and try to clean it up. Blah blah blah. This blah 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 that. Long story short is, I go to say that, and even with let's even go down to even speak about and go down to even talking about the cops or whatnot.
Uh-huh.
He don't never like to call it. He thinks that all cops are right. You see what I'm saying? You ain't never heard him sit there and say or agree and say that this cop was wrong or this cop. And hold up, just let me finish.
Yeah.
And the whole point of me saying that is that you can't sit here and complain about them what they doing to Trump when your man got selective memory and selective persecution and what he thinks and who he thinks that he should be agreeing with and disagreeing with based on what crew and what gang they in.
Man, I do remember the conversation being quite interesting, and I definitely got to check it out. Go check out thehakereport.com. You know his show. If you don't know, go check it out. Watch Art's call on there. It was definitely fun. I can't say I'll let you, Art, call Hake on this. But you know what we can talk about real quick before I let you go? I'll let you call Hake on this.
Yeah.
But you know what? I appreciate your call. No problem. No problem at all. But you know what we can talk about, since you mentioned it, is
go ahead.
You did say about the selective thing and the Constitution.
Yeah.
Answer. What do you think about this? Like, and I think I did say this, and I think you agreed with me, but I'll say it again. About that same Constitution, would you agree with me that the very amendments that we're talking about, with this process that's in place, thanks to the Constitution and all that, that's supposed to protect all that, would you say that despite all that, that's all going away, despite this strong Constitution and the words that are really protecting the amendments, would you agree with me that we're losing them anyways?
Well, yeah, we're losing them, but that's because the American people ain't holding the government accountable.
So would you say
the state, just like I said, the state doesn't over trump federal.
So let me put it, no, I'm totally agree with you. So let me put it like this too. Let's say you're in a Target and a riot breaks out and everybody starts looting the Target. The rules say you can't do that. But aren't the rules suspended in that moment? Despite it being wrong, despite it, whatever you may think about it, aren't they suspended in that very moment?
Now,
until they get enforced, until something changes? Let's say you're in a Target and a riot breaks out and everybody just starts stealing everything at this Target during this riot. Even though the law says you can't do that, even though it's wrong, even though blah, 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 we all agree. Aren't the rules suspended in that moment?
No, they're not.
But aren't they? Sorry, let me put it like this: aren't they effectively suspended in that moment?
No, they're not.
And why not? If the rules say something, but everybody's breaking them and nobody's getting any consequences for breaking them, aren't the rules effectively suspended?
I mean, they would effectively be suspended or would not. But
so that's how I see the Constitution, and I think that's what Hake's saying, or at least towards that direction. And I gotta say, would you disagree with that? I cut you off. I didn't even hear you speaking, sir. I must have cut you off.
No, I guess I can see what you're saying and agree with what you're saying or whatnot.
Mm-hmm. So
just like it's for just. I mean, but on my note, I mean, I ain't really able to get in too far into depth on the characteristics or whether like trying to basically break down and compare the both of them to see the differences in the both of them. You see what I'm saying? Because just like I was saying, as far as how I was looking at it, as far as they might be riding in the store or whatnot, and it might be all lawless, but as an individual, you still know what the rules and the laws is. So just because they robbing and doing whatever they doing in the store don't mean that gives you the right to participate in them breaking the law.
Absolutely, yeah. In my hypothetical, I don't mean for the person. I don't mean that makes it okay for you to start looting, but in my hypothetical, effectively, those rules, clinging to those rules, is a denial of reality, despite you wanting them to be real and all that, and them being correct. I'm not denying that.
Okay, well, do me one more favor before I get off here. Break that down to me. What was, as far as what you were saying, as far as what he was meaning? Because I mean, I like what you're saying. I want to kind of make sure I got the clear understanding
about the Constitution. Because I heard Hake kind of say something about the Constitution not mattering, or basically, right? I'm in the ballpark, and that being a point of like conversation between you two. And basically, how can it not matter? But look at it the way I'm looking at it with the Target example. Yes, the rules are still written. They're still written somewhere and they exist in the minds of someone. But in that moment, during that riot, nobody enforcing anything and everybody breaking the law anyways, guess what? The law is effectively suspended at that point. And you could yell, you could yell at this looting crowd, hey, the law says this all you want. But they
bro, I don't know, man. Just listening to
do you understand? Well, of course. What I'm essentially saying here goes back to the distinction between the letter and the spirit of something. The same way you were describing following this Constitution to a T, and how I brought up the distinction of how people don't understand it and would rather just follow the words instead of understanding. The same thing in the Target example. Think about it. The words are just written on a paper. It's about the people. It's about the people and what's in their hearts.
Nah, I don't agree with that, bro. Nah, I take that. I don't agree. I don't agree with that. I feel it. No way. No
if you
way.
Had a whole country, it doesn't matter if a country has a constitution if the whole country doesn't believe in it and goes against it. Do you understand?
I mean, I get what you're saying on that, but I just know that
it can still be wrong. It can still be wrong. It's something that has to be dealt with, but that's a reality.
Well, I know one thing, two things, whether it's on paper or not. If you don't believe in the Constitution or whatnot, then you might not need to be over here in America. Now, I'm not talking about you, but I'm just talking about anybody that would think that just because somebody ain't practicing or following the letter or the T or know anything about the Constitution, then yeah, you definitely. That's just like I would say that if you a police officer don't know the Constitution and laws, and you a cop, then you don't need to be a cop.
That's true, man. That is true. I'm really not disagreeing with you here, man. Maybe I misunderstood you. You did say should. Should the Constitution be followed? I guess I'm talking about, is it being followed? I'm saying it's not. Should it be followed? Yes.
Yeah. It ain't. It ain't being followed, though.
Well, sir, is there last thing you want to say before we move the wheels here?
Oh, no, man. Appreciate the call or whatnot, and I'll catch you later.
Thank you, sir. Call me again.
All right, bet.
Let's get to Steve out of Ohio. We got Steve out of Ohio on the air. Thank you for your call.
Mr. Nick, what's up, buddy?
All is well, sir. Thank you.
Man, Art got me fired up thinking about that beautiful document written 200 some odd years ago.
It's a good one. Someone said it was some of the best, one of the best things written ever. But I don't know. I forget who said that.
It's a great read, but it's hard to read. And they spent so much time taking our eyes off of it and making us illiterate so we can't read it. Like, both you guys had great points in that conversation. But I did want to bring out one point from your conversation. There's a difference between police and sheriffs. A sheriff is elected. They're an elected official. And a police officer, they're just hired and appointed. And if you break down the word police, policy, they're policy officers. And there's a difference between the Constitution, which is considered law, and policies, which police enforce, and that would be considered color of law. You following me on that?
I'm following what you said.
Right.
Can you describe that a little more for me? I've never heard color of law.
I didn't know about this term until about a year ago, but color of law would basically be anything outside of your state constitution or your federal constitution. Like in Ohio, we have a constitution. California has one. Because the power really is delegated to the states themselves. But we've let federal government get so out of hand that they took Big Daddy's home type deal.
Yes.
But it really should be the states.
What should be the states?
All the power.
All of it?
Gotcha. Yeah, and it should be to your own state,
there are enumerated powers the states have, and then some reserved for the federal. Yeah, but there's been a shift. I'm aware of this shift.
Yep. And the only point I really had was there's a checkmate in case you ever have to go for like tax evasion, or I stopped filing my tax returns like in 2020. And I've been getting mail back and forth like, hey, we're going to garnish your wages. What you have to do, as soon as you get that piece of mail, you correct it in red ink and you send it back to them. The reason is that Article 6, Section 2 of the Constitution, if you get time, pull that up later. But
say what is it again?
That's Article 6, Section 2. And basically that's going to be anything that doesn't jive with the Constitution is notwithstanding. It's saying that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and anything that isn't jiving with it, basically it doesn't exist, like color of law. But we're also illiterate and stupid now that it's hard for us to know that we have the power already. But I'll tell you what, they haven't garnished my wages yet. I'm still kicking it out here, not in prison. So I think if you just dig your heels in, you could tell them to bug off, and they'll go ahead and they'll mess with somebody else.
And you're talking about digging in your heels. Let me ask you this, Steve. What? Let's say, I don't know, feds show up at your door. Are you going to show them Article 6, Section 2?
Well, I mean, they're going to throw me in the clank, and the whole time I'll just try to educate them. But at that point, they'll have their foot on my head, and 5 guys will be like wrenching my arms and all. But I'll just have to take a whooping. But if I do the same thing as evil, like a means to an end, then I'm no better than them. I mean, I would just take the whooping because what else can I do, you know?
Well, I'm glad you understand that, and you're not wanting to be violent and all that, but appreciate that. But I'm asking about I'm just trying to understand you. Are you saying that?
Yeah.
Are you basically saying that you don't need to pay taxes because that law is a federal law and the Constitution supremacy clause protects you from that?
That's my understanding for sure, because there's no, actually, like in Article 1, it says that there cannot be an interest on a tax.
Mm.
So anytime that they're like, hey, well, you have interest, well, you just went against the Constitution. If you write an affidavit, like, they'll leave you alone, but you have to type something out in not libel, but in writing, and let them know, like, hey, you can't do that. And then you keep copies of it too. That's the only way you can get them from really biting you.
And do you think that's a good protection? Do you think that's a good enough protection for yourself?
Well, we'll see what happens. You know, if I end up in prison here soon, then I'll be like, Nick, don't do it. Go pay your taxes.
Yeah, it could be like big fish, small fish kind of thing. Like, yeah, that's illegal, but we got bigger fish to fry kind of thing.
Exactly. And go find another. Go find another idiot.
Right, but like, that's kind of like opening yourself up to unnecessary danger, I think, in my opinion.
Or I could just keep being a sheep and letting them rob me. Either way, I want to.
But here's the thing about that. While you're, saying I don't need to pay taxes, and this is speculation. I'm making stuff up at this point, but they got their knee on your neck. They put you in prison or whatever. And now you gotta, I don't know, be in prison and, I don't know, be useless, I guess. Tell me, are you still their sheep or not? Are you still not their sheep? Are you still this?
Well,
are you still this? Or are you? Huh?
I'm the sheep that got beaten up, and now I'm back on the ranch, and no one wants to talk to me because they're like, "Hey, you see what happened to that sheep? Don't do what he did."
So you're a sheep either way.
I'm still a sheep, but so on the taxes thing, have you ever thought about it? They send you a little piece of paper. They already got the money from you. They just want you to put the numbers in the boxes and check it off that it's right and put your signature on it. Basically, that's you giving them consent for the money they already stole from you. So by not filing your taxes, they can't.
But they already have that.
Consent.
They already have that money, man.
They already have it.
They already have it.
I know, but I didn't give.
So what's this stance by not signing this piece of paper or by not? What is the grand stance?
Well, just for me, really. I mean, I'm gonna, I like to fight. So
yeah.
I'm gonna keep fighting the big dude.
Are you free? Or are you already free?
I believe so. I mean, none of the world really drags me down anymore, honest. But we're still in the game, so.
So then it should matter. If you're already free, the government doesn't need to. You don't need to prove that to the government. Why do you need to prove that to the government, to your neighbors, that you're already free? Look at me, I'm in jail. Look at me, I'm in jail. I'm free.
Well, no, I mean,
because I took a stance.
I don't want to go to jail, that's for sure. But until.
Because this is kind of a really good example of what I was talking with my previous caller too. The word versus like understanding. Mm-hmm. You it sounds like you read the Constitution. You know what it says.
And I would say not a lot, but yeah.
But at least in this case, enough of it to think that this is a good enough defense. Well, actually, it sounds like you don't think it's a defense. Even though you may know that article or whatever, you don't think it's actually going to protect you from jail, right?
No, I think it's just me correcting the people who are elected to run my life.
Yes.
So if they're not doing their job efficiently, I'll tell them how to do it.
Okay.
And that's where I'm sitting.
I think I can appreciate.
They just don't know better.
I think I can appreciate that. I guess what I'm just trying to make clear is: are you under any impression that this is a real defense against the law and you will be protected for real, or do you know that you'll go to jail? You'll go to jail
any second they could kick my door in for sure. But then while I'm sitting in the cell, if they decide to listen, they'll hear me correcting them, and if not, I'll just rot. I'll sit there and take it like a man.
Well,
I think the founding fathers, they were all getting arrested and their families were getting taken away, and freedom's not free.
They were.
Yeah.
Who?
we would have to have that dude from Texas.
What founding fathers were getting their families taken away? Like,
all right, I wasn't there. So I don't know.
I'm just unclear, but I'm just saying, you're not under an impression that this will protect you from the law in a real way, right?
Oh, no way.
Okay. I can appreciate some kind of a radical stance against a status quo, but we got to be careful, man, because that's sounding a little crazy, man.
I know, but
what about? Have you ever heard of render to Caesar what is Caesar's?
Yeah, but I have to exchange my time for what is Caesar's, and my time is the most valuable thing I have, and I'm never getting it back.
And you're risking giving it all up for a stance that if you were truly free, you would just do within, understanding the context of what you're dealing and facing. And what you're facing is this the entire U.S. government. And if you could just have some reason, some kind of rational, good, godly common sense, you'd know that you could just be free within, and you could still tell the world what you want to tell them.
Right.
Anyways, man, hey, I'm not telling you exactly what to do. I'm just reacting here a little bit, and it doesn't sound,
cool
it doesn't seem sound to risk that, man, because.
Can you imagine if there was a couple million of people that thought just like me, and we were like, "Hey, you can't bully us anymore. Who are they going to bully?"
That would be totally different. That would be totally different.
So
but it doesn't quite sound like this case. Do you see that? That would be totally different.
You have to be the change you want to see, and if we don't see the change, we have to become it so we can lead by example. That's where I'm sitting. So maybe I'm just a little bit ahead of the curve.
I look. Again, it's like I don't want to be ignorant to that. Like that's not real. Like, oh, you would make a bigger splash. You would get more attention. But what's attention? What's a splash? What's making a point? What's telling people the truth? What's all that what's the point of all that without it being guided by the spirit that makes all good things happen? You understand? What's the point of that?
No, I understand.
And if you believe you're guided by the Spirit, like that's what I'm trying to say here, that, hey, but can we can be reasonable here. I think God is reasonable. And and for me, and I'm just this person reacting to you, I'm not God, but for me, I cannot think that that's what God would want you to do. Go and put yourself in jail for nothing, to change nothing.
I mean, there's a lot of people not filing their taxes, man. It's coming. You might just be late on the bus.
Fair enough, sir. Well, this has been, fair enough, Steve. And this has been a funny, interesting conversation about video games, right, Steve? About not paying taxes in Sim City, because nobody likes paying taxes in the video game Sim City, right?
That's true.
Yeah, nobody likes doing that. And you know what? You're totally allowed to do that in a video game.
Yeah. And
nice.
Are you saying we're in a simulation?
No, I'm saying Steve out of Ohio is talking about not paying his taxes in Sim City.
Yeah, that's true. Yep, I'm a video gamer right now. I'm glad you cleared that up, sir.
This is a gaming stream. Thank you, Steve, man.
Yep. I appreciate you, sir. And
I wanted to kind of navigate that because I like kind of radical ideas, but we can't be.
No, I know. And
those are what am I saying? I don't like radical ideas. I like challenging, even like something that would be you would think impossible to challenge. But
and everything I said, I take it all back.
We're talking about video games. There's this tax simulator I love playing. It's pretty deep. It's pretty boring, but yeah.
Yep, Nick, thank you so much for taking
a pleasure
my call,
as always,
man.
Steve. Call me again.
You.
Of course,
yes,
man. Call me again.
Yes, sir.
We got Justin out of Fullerton, California. Appreciate your call, sir.
Thanks for taking my call, Nick.
No problem. Thank you for your call.
Yeah, I definitely was thinking about how Art was making some good points about how the preservation of the Constitution. I'm a constitutional American. I think some folks are just American in name only, but the Constitution leads to the states having its right to exercise its freedoms. It just doesn't mean that the state police can go back to being like the redcoats.
If we what?
Oh, that the police department of the local, city
Yes,
that
yes.
you live in, they can't become like the redcoats. Where
And how are they becoming like the redcoats? In what way? I want to understand what you're saying.
The federal government, had, been created, the whole federalist movement, where the states have their rights, and there is a fear that there could be some states that were going to become more to the point of like their own nation. So they have to pull them under the federal reins, but they still have their rights. So if it's to bear arms, right, and that's the Constitution, the Supreme Court of the land, and if you're supposed to pay taxes, whatever it is, that's the law. The city can't trump the Constitution. So Art's right. And your other caller's right about having not to pay taxes.
Is it in all cases, no matter what?
Yeah, unless there's not an amendment, but unless the Supreme Court dictates it, I guess.
That state laws, I'm sorry, I must have missed it. Are you just saying that state laws supersede federal laws? That's what you're saying Art is right about?
The Constitution supersedes all states, and that federal structure that's been in place is supposed to preserve the states to have their rights and not be too fearful that they're going to have a revolution and
so the state's law. So the state's law is above the federal law only if it follows the Constitution.
Yes,
like it's supposed to.
The Constitution guarantees the right for the state to do that. Its existence is dependent upon the.
Does the Constitution also give the federal government certain powers and rights that the states don't have?
Yes, it limits it. It limits the states' rights.
Correct.
So they don't. So they don't.
So there are differences. It's not that one supersedes the other. It's that they have enumerated rights and powers by the Constitution.
Yeah. So the city can't trump anything over the Constitution, and you should be wise because if you live by the sword, Jesus said you'll die by the sword. So there's a lot of things to be said about that, and I don't know.
Can you make that clear for me in the context of taxes? Is that what you're also referring to? About the state? Are you saying that the city's tax laws are unconstitutional? Like my previous caller, basically? That's the part I'm not getting.
The state's laws are definitely, in place to adhere to the Constitution. Otherwise, the federal government would go and limit it. But more and more, you see the states have their own rights to do things, whether it's right to bear arm in a certain manner, to grow certain plants in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
There's the people. And so if the people relinquish their rights to the federal government's whims and they don't assert their God-given rights, then they'll be like how it used to be with the redcoats. They can come in, they can do whatever they want to you on your property without a warrant, because they have a gun, you don't have a gun, because you pay the tax, and there is no representation. And that's what led to the revolution. It wasn't the lack. I think Art was wrong on one thing about. I think if I heard him right, saying that when people left England, they were leaving it because they felt that they weren't getting represented from the king and they were being taxed. No, it wasn't until here in the United States when we had, here in the colonies where we had, things like the Tea Party. The Boston Tea Party led to enforcement of those values and preserving what we have today. Is yes, we can pay taxes, but to the extent we're paying now, no, it's illegal how we become taxed. We become taxed to the point where we get $1, and as we spend that dollar being taxed, the person receiving it also pays a tax. So it's like slavery, but it's like people just barely getting by. Where they're not standing up for their own rights to limit how much taxes they're being they're incurring every time they make a purchase or every time they earn money. So if they stop paying their taxes, there could be a big problem if a lot of people do, because then they're not going to have their money for wars.
I gotcha. Okay, I'm following you, sir. Thank you for that. You think we should pay our taxes?
You should pay the taxes that you feel is right. So if you feel as if that your taxes are being too much, you have the only right to not pay it, because Jesus said, "Give to Caesar what's Caesar's," but you're only supposed to not give everything, but only give what's right. Otherwise, you're just being stupid. You're not paying your taxes, you're going to get in trouble. But if you feel like you're being overtaxed, then you should assert your rights. and say why. And then, some people don't have to pay taxes because they don't want to support these illegal wars, and other people feel like, I don't care, I'll just pay my taxes, and they do support those wars.
Gotcha. Well, thanks for that. Yeah, I was just interested what you were thinking about that. Yeah, right on. Appreciate that, Justin. Anything else you want to say here?
Trump 2024.
Let's go. Always. Thank you, sir. Call me again. 888-775-3773. Taxes. Did you pay your taxes? You got to pay your taxes, okay? You got to pay your tax. If you're not going to pay them, I'm just saying, be ready. Like, know what you're doing. I mean, I'm not saying... Just know what you're getting into, I guess. Is all I'm trying to say. It's like, what taxes are you paying anyways? You don't have it. You don't have money. I'm not saying they don't tax us too much. I'm not saying that taxes can't be too high. I'm not saying that we can't do... I live in California. But you don't even have money to get taxed. You don't even have money to get taxed. What are you talking about? I pay so much in taxes. Become competent and a man of happenstance. That's not the word I thought it was, by the way. And then be like, damn, these taxes. What else was I saying? I'm saying you don't even have... I'm not talking about Steve. I'm saying about you. Okay, I'm talking about you. I'm not talking about Steve or my callers. I'm talking about you. You know who I'm talking about. Okay, you don't even have all that kind of money to be taking that stance and going to jail for and losing your life over, okay? Or maybe that's why you're feeling like you should. Let's see here. Just reading some of your chats here. I'm just saying, okay, like, pay your New World Order tax so that you may live to fight another day. What? Okay, let's see here. What else do we got for you here? 888-775-3773. In the last few minutes of the show here. What can I show you here? In the last few minutes. What can I show you here? I seem to have saved a video here. I titled it My 8th Graders. I'm remembering a little bit. Why did I save this? I put it in the evergreen section of my notes. Should I need a video or something to talk about? But why? Why, Past Nick? Why, Past Nick, did you pick this video? I see a woman. The caption reads, "Things that my 8th graders have said to me."
Things that my 8th graders have said to me. Are you in therapy? You seem like the type.
Okay, that's funny.
You look like my grandpa's couch.
Nice. Roasted.
Thank you. Now that the ops are gone, we can yap.
That's just how they speak, okay? Everyone's a little black. I told you. That's her 8th graders. I bet you they're not black.
A student got the answer right and yelled, "Yeah, I felt that one in my nuggets."
That's awesome. She almost laughed at that one.
Your pants look like trash bags sewn together. Ha ha, trash bag pants.
Career over. Go home. Where's your husband? You need therapy for that one.
I don't get why you write so much on my rough draft. I'm not reading all that, bruh, for real, for real.
Failure of the schools and parents. No, I'm just joking about that one.
Miss Dugan, the toilet paper in this school sucks. I just got dookie on my hand.
That's just a fair complaint. That one needs to go straight to the... you need to send that to the proper channels, Mrs. Dugan. You need to be sending that to the proper channels. This is an individual, a young student, who is, you know, trying to help the situation here.
Fat ass alert. That one ended up being about me. I was eating some crackers.
Okay, but how were you eating the crackers? And where are there crumbs? And where were those crumbs? On your lap? Messy. On your stomach? Let's say you're like lying down back a little bit. You got crumbs on your stomach? Okay. They're around your mouth? Like a cartoon character? You got crumbs around your mouth like a cartoon character, a child, or we need details, okay? We don't know. These 8th graders could be quite aware.
Miss Dugan, you don't want to know what I say about you behind your back or you'd quit your job. And finally, how does it feel to be the only unmarried teacher in this school?
Oh, dang. That one was trying to get to you.
Thank you.
I wonder if it did. I can't even remember why I saved this video for y'all. Maybe it was just funny. Maybe it was a Friday video. But I do remember the comments on some of these. I think maybe that's why I saved it. The comments were like, these 8th graders, I can't believe what they're learning. When the vibe I got from the video was that she was kind of taking it a little humorous, to be honest. I think she kind of took it well. But maybe it was the comments that got me. Just everybody's like, oh, these 8th graders, what are they saying? These kids are comedy. Yeah, these kids are fine. These kids are fine. The kids are fine. It's maybe. But it did make me think a little bit about school growing up. School sucked. Like the teachers and stuff. The rules. Okay? I had some friends. I did all right. But school kind of sucked. School kind of sucked, man. And I didn't quite realize how feminine it was. How feminine and the some of these comments here that she was reading, if people wrote that down and it went around, it would be a crisis. It would be the Tangiers crisis, okay? I remember I did a prank on my teacher once. Okay, I actually did 2 pranks. One was pretty bad. When I deserved going to the principal's office. But I remember writing something funny on this chalkboard once. I forget. Or drawing a funny picture. It wasn't vulgar. It was a crisis. And I'm just rambling a little bit about the video, I guess. And teachers growing up. They say it's a woman's job. Nurturing. I mean, we did talk a little bit about emasculation in men. And I think part of the emasculation, too, like I was saying earlier, yeah, like I was agreeing that it's making the men feminine and making them weak and emotional. But the side that's missed, the part that's another emasculating force or arena for the men is you can't talk to me that way. You are not allowed to offend me because look, I'm feeling offended and you can't say that to me because I'm a tough man. Sorry, that's actually more feminine. All things you feel are coming from you. That all things you feel are coming from you. They don't come from anyone else. Anything outside of you, anything anyone says, anything anyone does, that thing that you're feeling is coming from you. And men haven't been told that. That's part of the emasculation. But a little bit of this too. Men taken out of these sort of So let's call it nurturing, guiding. They call it nurturing. It's guiding. I'm a guide. Isn't that more masculine? I'm your guide. Anyways, you follow me here? That's kind of a bit of the emasculating that's happening with what's happening to the men. Aversion to this teacher space, etc., etc. But anyways, right on, 8th graders. That's it, folks. That's it from me. That's it from the Anchor Baby. That is the show. Let's do a little quick check here before we go. We got a Birdie Bound Brian super chat. Thank you, sir. Insert impressive eagle eye emoji. Thank you, Birdie Bound Brian. Yes, Gunner with the super chat says arty art and whatnot. And we still rolling with Trump. You know it. Appreciate the support, folks. Thank you for the super chats. Aries, top supporters over there on DLive.tv. Thanks, y'all. That's it from me. I'm out. See you tomorrow with more American Anchor Baby at 12. And we'll be starting bright and early, 6 a.m. Pacific time with the Bond Network, kicking it off with Jesse as we do. Until then, take care. See y'all tomorrow. Bye. Oh, we got Lil Nick. Bye.